A shark can regrow 35,000 teeth in its lifetime. A starfish can regenerate an entire arm from nothing. A salamander can grow back its heart, its brain, even its spinal cord. But humans? We can barely regrow a fingernail properly. Yet right now, in laboratories around the world, scientists are unlocking the secrets that could let you regrow a lost limb as easily as healing a paper cut. The age of human regeneration isn't coming, it's already here. Welcome back to Mind and Marvel, where we explore the incredible frontiers of science that are reshaping our world. I'm your host, and today we're diving into one of the most revolutionary fields in modern medicine, regenerative biology. Here's a mind-bending fact: you're already a master of regeneration. Right now, your liver is completely replacing itself every 150 days. Your skin renews entirely every 2-4 weeks. Your stomach lining regenerates every few days. You're literally rebuilding yourself constantly, you're just not aware of it. But what if I told you that hidden within your DNA lies the same regenerative programming that allows a salamander to regrow its limbs, or an axolotl to regenerate its brain? What if the only difference between you and these biological superheroes is that your regenerative abilities have been switched off, not lost? This isn't science fiction. In the past decade, researchers have made breakthrough discoveries that are fundamentally changing our understanding of what the human body can do. We've learned how to wake up dormant stem cells, how to reprogram adult cells back to their embryonic superpowers, and how to build entirely new organs from scratch. We're standing on the brink of a medical revolution that will make everything we've achieved so far look primitive by comparison. Imagine a world where losing a limb is as temporary as breaking a bone, where heart disease means growing a new heart rather than managing symptoms, where paralysis can be cured by regenerating damaged spinal cord tissue. Today, we're going to explore the cutting-edge science that's making this possible, the incredible discoveries happening right now in research labs, and what this means for the future of human health. We'll uncover why some animals are regeneration superstars while humans seem to have lost this ability, how scientists are learning to flip our regenerative switches back on, and the mind-blowing treatments that could be available within your lifetime. Get ready to have your mind blown, because the future of medicine isn't about treating disease, it's about making the human body essentially indestructible. Before we understand how humans might unlock regenerative superpowers, we need to meet nature's current champions. And let me tell you, the animal kingdom is full of creatures that make the most advanced human medicine look like Stone Age technology. Let's start with the absolute heavyweight champion of regeneration, the axolotl. This adorable Mexican salamander isn't just cute, it's literally the closest thing to immortal that exists on Earth. An axolotl can regenerate almost any part of its body, and I mean any part. Cut off a leg? No problem, it'll grow back in a few weeks, complete with bones, muscles, nerves, and blood vessels. Damage its heart? It'll regenerate the damaged tissue without even forming a scar. Remove part of its brain? The axolotl will regrow the neural tissue and restore full function. But here's the really incredible part. An axolotl can do this over and over again, throughout its entire life, without any loss of regenerative ability. Scientists have cut off the same limb from an axolotl dozens of times, and it just keeps growing back perfect every time. It's like having a biological 3D printer built into every cell. How do they do it? The secret lies in something called de-differentiation. When an axolotl is injured, the specialized cells around the wound site basically forget what they were supposed to be. A muscle cell stops being a muscle cell, a skin cell stops being a skin cell, and they all revert to a more primitive, stem cell-like state. These de-differentiated cells then form what's called a blastema, essentially a biological construction site where new tissue is built from the ground up. But axolotls aren't alone in their regenerative superpowers. Take the planarian flatworm. If you cut one of these tiny creatures into pieces, each piece will regenerate into a complete, fully functional worm. Cut a planarian into 10 pieces, and you'll have 10 new planarians within a few weeks. They're like biological Lego sets that can rebuild themselves no matter how they're broken apart. The secret of planarian regeneration lies in their incredible stem cell system. About 20% of a planarian's body is made up of stem cells called neoblasts. These cells are constantly dividing and replacing old, damaged tissue throughout the worm's life. When the worm is cut, these stem cells immediately spring into action, migrating to the wound site and differentiating into whatever tissue types are needed. Then there's the hydra, a tiny freshwater animal that's essentially biologically immortal. Hydras don't age in the traditional sense, they just keep regenerating themselves indefinitely. They can regrow their entire head, complete with nervous system and feeding apparatus in just a few days. What's even more amazing is that they do this regularly as part of their normal life cycle, essentially giving themselves a complete biological makeover every few weeks. But let's talk about something closer to home: mammals that can regenerate. You might think advanced regeneration is limited to simple creatures, but you'd be wrong. The African spiny mouse can regenerate large patches of skin, complete with hair follicles, sweat glands, and nerve endings, without forming any scar tissue. When attacked by a predator, these mice can actually shed large patches of their skin as a defense mechanism, then regrow it perfectly within weeks. Even more impressive are deer, which regrow their entire antlers every year. We're not talking about small structures here. A full-grown deer antler can weigh over 30 pounds and contains bone, cartilage, blood vessels, nerves, and skin. The speed of antler regeneration is mind-blowing. They can grow up to an inch per day, making them one of the fastest-growing tissues in the animal kingdom. But perhaps the most relevant example for humans comes from our closest relatives. Young primates, including human children, have remarkable regenerative abilities that we lose as we age. Children under the age of 2 can sometimes regrow fingertips completely, including the bone, nail, and fingerprint, if the injury occurs at the right level. This shows that the genetic programming for regeneration isn't absent in humans, it's just been turned off as we evolved. So what happened to us? Why did humans apparently trade away these incredible regenerative abilities? The answer lies in evolution's trade-offs. Advanced regeneration requires keeping large populations of stem cells active throughout the body, but active stem cells come with a significant risk: cancer. The same cellular properties that allow unlimited regeneration, rapid division, resistance to cell death signals, the ability to form new tissue, are exactly the properties that make cancer so dangerous. As mammals evolved larger brains and longer lifespans, natural selection favored mechanisms that reduced cancer risk, even if it meant sacrificing regenerative ability. We traded the ability to regrow limbs for the ability to live long enough to develop complex societies and pass on knowledge to our offspring. But here's the fascinating part. The genetic instructions for regeneration are still there in our DNA. They're just locked away, turned off by evolutionary safety mechanisms. Recent research has shown that many of the genes crucial for regeneration in salamanders and other regenerative species are present in humans too. They're just not being expressed. This discovery has revolutionized the field of regenerative medicine. Instead of trying to figure out how to give humans entirely new abilities, scientists realized they just need to figure out how to turn back on the abilities we already have. It's like discovering that your car has a turbo engine that's been disconnected. You don't need to build a new engine, you just need to reconnect the wires. The implications are staggering. If we can learn to safely reactivate our dormant regenerative programs, we could potentially restore the regenerative superpowers that our ancestors gave up millions of years ago. We're not trying to become something we've never been, we're trying to remember what we once were. Now that we understand what nature is capable of, let's explore how scientists are learning to give humans those same superpowers. And it all starts with understanding the most important cells in your body. Cells that most people have never heard of. Stem cells are like the master keys of biology. While most of your cells are highly specialized, a brain cell can only be a brain cell, a muscle cell can only be a muscle cell, stem cells are the ultimate shapeshifters. They can become any type of cell your body needs and they can divide indefinitely without wearing out. You actually start life as a single stem cell. That fertilized egg that became you. That one cell had the incredible ability to become every single type of cell in your body. Your neurons, your heart muscle, your liver cells, your skin, everything. It's like having a single Lego brick that can transform into any piece you need to build whatever you want. As you developed in the womb, that master stem cell divided and gradually gave rise to more specialized stem cells. Some became neural stem cells that could only make brain and nervous system components. Others became hematopoietic stem cells that could only make blood and immune system cells. Think of it like a company where the CEO gradually delegates responsibilities to department heads, who then delegate to managers and so on. By the time you're born, most of your stem cells have committed to specific roles, but, and this is crucial, you still have populations of stem cells scattered throughout your adult body. They're like a biological repair crew, constantly working to maintain and fix your tissues. The problem is, as you age, these stem cell populations dwindle and become less effective. But here's where the revolution began. In 2006, a Japanese scientist named Shinya Yamanaka made a discovery that completely changed everything we thought we knew about cell biology. He figured out how to take any ordinary adult cell, like a skin cell from your arm, and reprogram it back into a stem cell with all the powers of an embryonic stem cell. Imagine if you could take a specialized worker in a factory, say, someone who's been painting cars for 20 years, and somehow reset their training so they could suddenly do any job in the factory, engineering, quality control, management, anything. That's essentially what Yamanaka discovered how to do with cells. The process involves introducing just 4 genes, now called Yamanaka factors, into adult cells. These genes act like a biological reset button, erasing the cell's specialized identity and returning it to its stem cell state. The reprogrammed cells, called induced pluripotent stem cells or iPSCs, can then be guided to become any type of cell you need. This discovery was so revolutionary that Yamanaka won the Nobel Prize, and it's easy to see why. Suddenly, scientists could take a skin sample from a patient and turn those cells into heart cells, brain cells, liver cells, or any other type of cell needed for treatment. It's like having a biological 3D printer that can print living tissues using the patient's own cells as raw material. But the real breakthrough came when scientists realized they could use this technology for direct reprogramming, essentially skipping the stem cell stage entirely. Instead of converting a skin cell back to a stem cell and then forward to a heart cell, they could convert the skin cell directly into a heart cell. It's like teaching that car painter to become an engineer without going back to school first. This direct reprogramming has opened up incredible possibilities. Scientists have successfully converted skin cells directly into neurons, heart muscle cells, insulin-producing pancreatic cells, and many other cell types. In some cases, they've even done this inside living animals, essentially performing cellular alchemy in real time. One of the most exciting applications is in treating heart disease. When you have a heart attack, the damaged heart muscle is typically replaced by scar tissue, which can't contract and pump blood. But researchers have now shown they can inject reprogramming factors directly into the heart, converting scar tissue into new functional heart muscle cells. It's like magically transforming a broken part of an engine back into working machinery. Similar approaches are being developed for the brain. Scientists have successfully converted brain support cells called glia into neurons, potentially offering new treatments for conditions like Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, and spinal cord injuries. Instead of trying to transplant new neurons into the brain, they're teaching cells already in the brain to become the neurons that are needed. But stem cell therapy goes far beyond just replacing damaged cells. Scientists are now using stem cells to grow entire organs in the laboratory. They start with a scaffold, either a synthetic framework or a decellularized organ from a donor, and then seed it with the patient's own stem cells. The stem cells grow and differentiate, gradually building a new organ that's genetically matched to the patient. This approach has already been successful for relatively simple organs like bladders and windpipes. Patients have received lab-grown bladders made from their own stem cells and are doing well years later. But scientists are working on much more complex organs: hearts, lungs, livers, even kidneys. The process is like biological architecture. First, you need the blueprint, understanding exactly how the organ develops naturally. Then you need the building materials, the right types of stem cells. Finally, you need the construction process, the right sequence of growth factors, mechanical forces, and environmental conditions to guide the stem cells to build the organ correctly. One of the most promising approaches involves using bioprinting, essentially 3D printing with living cells. Scientists can now print complex structures using stem cells as the ink, creating tissues with precisely controlled architecture. They can print blood vessels, skin grafts, even small pieces of organs with multiple cell types arranged in exactly the right patterns. But perhaps the most mind-blowing application of stem cell technology is in treating aging itself. Scientists have discovered that stem cells from young animals can rejuvenate old tissues when transplanted. It's like giving old machinery brand new replacement parts that somehow make the entire system work better. Even more exciting, researchers have found they can rejuvenate old stem cells by exposing them to factors from young blood or by reprogramming them with Yamanaka factors. This suggests that aging might not be the irreversible process we've always assumed it was. Instead, it might be more like a software problem that can be fixed by updating the program. Some researchers are taking this even further, working on what they call cellular reprogramming in vivo, essentially giving the entire body a biological reset without removing any cells. Early experiments in mice have shown that partial reprogramming can reverse age-related damage in multiple organs simultaneously, essentially making old animals young again at the cellular level. The implications are staggering. We're not just talking about treating individual diseases, we're talking about addressing the fundamental process of aging and cellular damage that underlies most diseases of old age. It's like the difference between constantly patching holes in a dam versus rebuilding the entire dam with better materials. While stem cells are grabbing headlines, there's another approach to regeneration that's equally exciting and perhaps even more immediately practical. Instead of replacing damaged tissues with new cells, scientists are learning how to wake up the body's own dormant repair systems. It turns out your body has incredible healing abilities that have just been switched off, and we're figuring out how to turn them back on. Let's start with something that sounds like pure science fiction but is actually happening right now: regrowing human limbs. At the Weiss Institute at Harvard, researchers have developed a technique that can trigger the regrowth of lost fingertips in adult humans. The secret lies in something called a biodome, a protective chamber that's placed over the amputation site. Here's how it works. When you lose a fingertip, your body's natural response is to quickly seal the wound and form scar tissue. It's like your biological emergency response team rushing to stop the bleeding, but in their haste, they forget about reconstruction. The biodome prevents this rapid healing and instead maintains the wound in a special state that mimics what happens in animals that can regenerate. Inside the biodome, researchers apply a cocktail of growth factors and signaling molecules that essentially tell the cells at the wound site: don't panic, don't scar, instead, remember what you used to be able to do. The results have been remarkable. Patients have regrown fingertips complete with bone, nail, and even fingerprints. But fingertips are just the beginning. Researchers are now working on applying similar principles to larger body parts. The key insight is that regeneration isn't just about having the right cells, it's about creating the right environment and sending the right signals to wake up dormant regenerative programs. One of the most promising areas is spinal cord regeneration. When your spinal cord is injured, the damage isn't usually complete destruction of the tissue. Instead, it's more like a highway that's been partially blocked. Some connections are broken, but the basic infrastructure is still there. The problem is that the central nervous system has very limited ability to repair these connections on its own. But scientists have discovered that they can dramatically improve spinal cord healing by manipulating the cellular environment around the injury. By injecting specialized biomaterials that act like biological scaffolding, combined with growth factors and sometimes stem cells, they can guide the regrowth of nerve connections across the injury site. Even more exciting, researchers have found they can reprogram the scar tissue that forms after spinal cord injury. Remember how scar tissue is usually the enemy of regeneration? Well, scientists have learned how to convert that scar tissue into neural tissue, essentially turning the body's own repair response into a regenerative one. It's like teaching your body's emergency response team to rebuild instead of just patching things up. The results in early clinical trials have been remarkable. Patients with complete spinal cord injuries who were told they would never walk again are now taking their first steps. We're not talking about perfect recovery yet, but we are talking about restoration of function that was previously thought to be impossible. Similar approaches are being developed for the brain. Stroke damage, which affects millions of people worldwide, has traditionally been considered permanent because the brain doesn't regenerate. But it turns out that's not entirely true. The brain just needs the right encouragement. Scientists have discovered that the brain contains dormant neural stem cells that can be activated to replace damaged neurons. By injecting growth factors or using techniques like focused ultrasound to stimulate these cells, researchers have been able to trigger neurogenesis, the growth of new brain cells, in areas damaged by stroke. Even more promising is the discovery that the brain can actually rewire itself around damage if given the right support. This process, called neuroplasticity, can be dramatically enhanced using targeted therapies. Patients are recovering functions years after their strokes, in some cases regaining the ability to speak, walk, or use their hands when those abilities seemed permanently lost. But perhaps the most immediately practical applications of regenerative medicine are in wound healing. Traditional wound care focuses on preventing infection and helping tissues heal in whatever way they can. But regenerative wound care is about helping tissues heal perfectly, without scars, and with full restoration of function. Scientists have developed sophisticated wound dressings that contain growth factors, stem cells, or reprogramming molecules. These aren't just bandages. they're biological computers programmed to guide the healing process. When applied to chronic wounds that haven't healed for months or even years, these advanced dressings can trigger complete healing within weeks. One particularly exciting development is in treating burns. Severe burns have traditionally required painful skin grafts taken from other parts of the patient's body, leaving them with permanent scarring and limited function. But researchers have now developed techniques to spray stem cells directly onto burn wounds, where they differentiate into all the different cell types needed for skin regeneration. The results are stunning. Patients are healing with minimal scarring and full restoration of skin function, including touch sensation and the ability to grow hair and sweat normally. It's like giving the skin a complete biological reset. Organ regeneration is also moving from the laboratory into clinical practice. The first lab-grown organs, simple structures like bladders and windpipes, are already being used in patients with great success. But scientists are now working on much more complex organs. The process typically involves taking a donor organ and stripping away all the original cells, leaving behind just the protein scaffold that gives the organ its structure. This decellularized scaffold is then reseeded with the patient's own stem cells, which grow and differentiate to create a fully functional organ that's genetically matched to the patient. This approach has been successful for organs like bladders, and researchers are now working on hearts, lungs, livers, and kidneys. The advantage is enormous: no risk of rejection, no need for lifelong immunosuppressive drugs, and the organ actually grows and adapts with the patient over time. But one of the most exciting developments is happening in an unexpected place: aging research. Scientists have discovered that many age-related conditions, from muscle weakness to cognitive decline, aren't just inevitable consequences of getting older. They're the result of regenerative systems that have become less active over time. By reactivating these systems, researchers have been able to reverse many signs of aging in laboratory animals. Old mice treated with certain factors from young blood have shown improved muscle strength, better memory, and even regrowth of lost hair. Their organs start functioning like those of much younger animals. Human trials are now underway to test whether similar approaches can help people. Early results suggest that some age-related decline can indeed be reversed by reactivating dormant regenerative pathways. We might be looking at a future where getting older doesn't necessarily mean getting weaker or sicker. It might just mean it's time for a biological tune-up. The most mind-blowing part? Many of these treatments work by simply reminding the body how to do things it already knows how to do. We're not adding foreign elements or completely artificial devices. We're just giving the body's own repair systems the resources and signals they need to work at full capacity again. Everything we've discussed so far isn't just theoretical research happening in some distant future. Much of it is happening in hospitals and clinics around the world. But the pace of discovery in regenerative medicine is accelerating so rapidly that what seems impossible today might be routine treatment tomorrow. Let me show you what's coming next. First, let's talk about something that sounds like pure fantasy: biological 3D printing of entire human organs. But this isn't science fiction anymore. It's happening in laboratories today. Scientists can now print living tissues using bioinks made from stem cells, and they're getting remarkably close to printing functional organs. The process works like this. Researchers first create a detailed 3D model of the organ they want to print, usually based on medical imaging from the patient who needs the transplant. Then they load different types of stem cells into specialized bioprinters. Think of them as incredibly precise 3D printers that work with living materials instead of plastic. The bioprinter lays down these cells layer by layer, following the 3D model exactly. But here's where it gets really cool. The stem cells are programmed to differentiate into the right cell types as they're being printed. So the printer might be laying down heart muscle cells in one area, while simultaneously printing blood vessel cells in another area, creating a complex organ with multiple tissue types all in the right positions. Within the next 5-10 years, we'll likely see the first 3D printed hearts being transplanted into patients. These won't just be simple structures, they'll be fully functional organs with their own blood supply, electrical conduction system, and the ability to grow and adapt with the patient. But organ printing is just the beginning. Scientists are working on something even more ambitious: whole-body regeneration protocols. Instead of treating individual organs or tissues, they're developing comprehensive approaches that can regenerate multiple body systems simultaneously. Imagine going to a clinic for what researchers are calling a biological reset. You'd receive a combination of treatments: stem cell injections, gene therapies, growth factor cocktails, and cellular reprogramming agents, all designed to activate your body's regenerative systems throughout your entire body at once. Over the course of several months, damaged tissues would be repaired, aged cells would be rejuvenated, and your body would essentially rebuild itself from the inside out. This isn't just speculation. Early versions of these protocols are already being tested in animals with remarkable results. Old animals have been made young again, not just in one organ system, but throughout their entire bodies. Their muscles become stronger, their bones become denser, their brains become sharper, and even their fur regrows thicker and more lustrous. Human trials are beginning, starting with patients who have severe degenerative diseases. But the ultimate goal is to make these biological resets available as a routine part of healthcare, like getting a comprehensive physical exam, but one that actually fixes what's wrong, instead of just identifying problems. Another incredible development is in the field of regenerative enhancement, not just fixing what's broken, but actually improving on the original design. Scientists have discovered they can engineer stem cells to produce enhanced versions of normal tissues. Imagine muscle cells that are stronger and more fatigue-resistant than normal. Bone cells that produce denser, more fracture-resistant bone, even brain cells with improved memory and processing capabilities. This technology could lead to treatments that don't just restore normal function but actually upgrade human capabilities. Athletes might be able to recover from injuries with muscles that are stronger than before. Elderly patients might not just recover their youthful vigor but actually become more physically capable than they were in their youth. The military is particularly interested in regenerative enhancement for soldiers. Instead of just treating combat injuries, they're exploring ways to enhance soldiers' natural healing abilities, improve their physical resilience, and even provide rapid regeneration of tissue damage in the field. But perhaps the most exciting development is in neural regeneration and brain enhancement. Scientists are learning not just how to repair damaged brains, but how to enhance cognitive function through regenerative approaches. They're developing techniques to grow new neurons in specific brain regions, strengthen existing neural connections, and even add entirely new neural circuits. Early research suggests it might be possible to enhance memory, improve learning ability, and even add new sensory capabilities through targeted neural regeneration. Imagine being able to regrow damaged parts of your brain after a stroke, but having those new neurons be more efficient and better connected than the original ones. AI is playing a crucial role in accelerating all of these developments. Machine learning algorithms can analyze vast amounts of biological data to identify new regenerative pathways, predict which treatments will work best for individual patients, and even design new therapeutic approaches that human scientists might never have thought of. AI systems are being used to optimize stem cell programming, design better bioprinting protocols, and predict the long-term outcomes of regenerative treatments. Some researchers believe AI will be essential for managing the complexity of whole-body regeneration protocols, coordinating dozens of different therapeutic interventions to work together harmoniously. The timeline for many of these advances is much shorter than you might expect. Simple organ printing might be available within 5-10 years. Basic whole-body regeneration protocols could be in clinical trials within 10-15 years. Even neural enhancement through regeneration might be possible within 15-20 years. But the most profound change might be in how we think about the human body itself. Instead of viewing it as a machine that inevitably breaks down and wears out, we're learning to see it as a renewable, upgradable, self-repairing system. The idea of permanent disability, irreversible aging, or incurable disease might become as outdated as the idea that humans can't fly. We're not just talking about extending human lifespan, we're talking about extending human health span, the period of life spent in good health and full function. Some researchers believe that with advanced regenerative medicine, the health span could potentially be extended indefinitely. Imagine reaching the age of 100 with the physical capabilities, mental sharpness, and overall health of someone in their 20s. Imagine losing a limb in an accident and having it regrow within months. Imagine having a heart attack and regenerating a better heart than the one you were born with. This future isn't guaranteed, and there will certainly be challenges and setbacks along the way. But the science is advancing so rapidly that what seems impossible today often becomes routine within a decade. We're living through the early days of a biological revolution that will fundamentally transform what it means to be human. The question isn't whether this technology will be developed, it's whether we'll be ready for the profound changes it will bring to medicine, society, and human life itself. So here we are, standing at the threshold of the most revolutionary period in medical history. We've explored how nature's regeneration superstars hold the keys to unlocking human healing potential. We've seen how scientists are learning to reprogram our cells like biological software. We've discovered that our bodies contain dormant repair systems just waiting to be reactivated, and we've glimpsed a future where the human body becomes essentially renewable and upgradable. But perhaps the most important takeaway is this: we're not trying to become something we've never been. We're trying to remember what we once were. Every regenerative capability we're working to restore already exists in our DNA, just waiting to be reactivated. We're not adding alien technology to our bodies, we're simply learning to flip the switches that evolution turned off. The implications go far beyond medicine. We're talking about fundamentally changing the human condition. Imagine a world where accidents don't result in permanent disability, where aging doesn't inevitably lead to decline, where the diseases that have plagued humanity for millennia become as treatable as a common cold. This isn't just about living longer. It's about living better, with maintained vitality, cognitive sharpness, and physical capability throughout an extended lifespan. We're potentially looking at the end of biological obsolescence, but with great power comes great responsibility. These technologies will raise profound questions about what it means to be human, about equality and access, about the very nature of life and death. As we stand on the brink of these capabilities, we need to think carefully about how we want to use them. What's certain is that the future of human health will be radically different from anything we've known before. We're living through a transformation that our grandchildren will read about in history books as the moment when humanity took control of its own biological destiny. And the most exciting part? This is just the beginning. Every breakthrough we've discussed today will seem primitive compared to what's coming in the next few decades. We're witnessing the dawn of an age where the boundaries between what's possible and impossible in human health are being completely rewritten. If this journey through the cutting edge of regenerative medicine has amazed you as much as it's amazed me, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Mind and Marvel. We're constantly exploring the most incredible frontiers of science that are reshaping our world, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Drop a comment below and let me know, which aspect of regenerative medicine excites you most? Are you more intrigued by the possibility of regrowing organs, reversing aging, or enhancing human capabilities? Or maybe there's something else entirely that caught your attention. I love hearing your thoughts, and often use your questions and ideas to shape future videos. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through the future of human regeneration. Until next time, keep wondering, keep questioning, and remember, the most amazing discoveries are always just around the corner. The future is regenerative, and it's arriving faster than you think.